I'm Jill Bailey. I am the Business Solutions Manager for the town of Chapel Hill. And I want to encourage you, this is a networking event, so I want to encourage you to network. We want to start the day off to get you guys talking. So we have a bit of an icebreaker for you. If you look on your tables or the tables nearest you, you should see some sheets like this. Can everybody grab one? Is everybody familiar with Mad Libs? Well, we're going to do Mad Libs the hacker way, okay? So grab a partner and fill out these sheets and spark a conversation with your partner after you filled it out and see what comes out of that, okay? You guys have about 10 minutes. Get to know each other. No, are there any questions?
So hold it. Are we supposed to do only part of it and then pass it back?
No, you do the whole thing.
Together?
You do the whole thing and you share it with your partner.
We're doing it individually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
This is just so you can get to know somebody new. So if you're sitting next to someone you already know, why don't you move and get another partner? Any questions? All right, have fun with it, you guys.
As we wrap up our icebreakers, I wanted to start just by saying thank you guys so much for being here. This is very exciting for doing something on this topic, to have this big of a group. We're going to do a lot of pretty impressive things today. I'm excited. I wanted to start my name is Garrison Reid. I'm a teacher at Chapel Hill High School. About 2 months ago, I attended a Code for America meeting and realized that there's something there, and something really exciting and passionate for the opportunity to talk about open data and get people working on these projects. So that's, November, December time period, and at the same time, I'm teaching a class at Chapel Hill High School that works a lot with data, and I'm thinking this is a perfect relationship to start to bloom. So talking with people at the town of Chapel Hill, kind of got to this point where we are here today, trying to blend these audiences of high school students, university students, professionals in the web and application development sphere, and then the town. If you can put all these people, I always say, if you can put all these people in the same room and have a good conversation, something's going to come out of it that's going to be exciting. And that's where we are today. So I'm hoping that comes true. I want to talk real quick just about, again, the town is super supportive of this today, not just hosting it here, but with meals and their energy and their time, so much of that. So I would talk first, say thank you to the town. There's a lot of town leaders, you're going to hear from them today. A lot of people are involved in their... And then we'll talk real quick just about the logistics of the day. If you haven't already, there's water and bathrooms that way. If you need to do that at any point, do that. We have a Twitter hashtag, OpenData-CH or Chapel Hill Hacks. Both of those are options. Include the Chapel Hill Gov and the school district, because this is trying to get a partnership between the school district, Code for America, or Code for Chapel Hill, our brigade specifically, and the town. We'll talk real quick about the Code for America Code of Conduct, and this should be kind of common sense, but we'll say it regardless. Make sure that the event today, that it's safe and respectful environment for all participants, that this is a place where everyone can feel free to fully express their identities. Everyone's ideas and skills and contributions have values. There's a lot of students here that are going to be learning. There's a lot of professionals here that are going to be learning something that a student might know or vice versa. So we're going to grow together. And my real goal here is that we're all coming together for this common goal of open data and the hackathon. So I think we should have no issue with this. Encourage members and participate to listen as much as they speak. Provide an environment where people are free from discrimination and harassment. And this is this is not real time, but this is where we were for our RSVPs. Like a whole chunk of people, 32.7%, very specific, it is a data. Are high school and college students. So basically a third of the group is people who are looking for where they go next in the industries or in their education. So I hope that incorporating data, and we also see people who are involved in technology and application developers and people in the sphere of the actual professional industry. And then we have a lot of town and various other people that are, so it kind of fits a third. And today we'll see how that all works together. And again, I'm just want to say thank you all for being here. This is really exciting. So.
All right.
Hi, Janelle again. I have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker today, Scott Clark. Scott is an executive director for the technology at the town of Chapel Hill. Scott is responsible for the town-wide information technology strategy and providing oversight for technology utilized through the town. Previously, Scott worked as a senior IT manager for the town of Cary. In both towns, Scott has been involved in improvements to the IT infrastructure, smart city, IoT, information security, mobile devices, policy developments, and cross-functional collaboration teams. Before moving to North Carolina, Scott worked in Maine state government for 25 years as the first director of the Judicial Office of Information Technology, and then as the director of the Office of Legislative Information Technology. Scott earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in Computer Science and Economics, as well as a Master's in Public Administration from the University of Maine. Scott is a certified Government Chief Information Officer from the University of North Carolina. And I'd like to add, he's an all-around great guy. Let's give it a hand for Scott Clark.
I couldn't tell whether I was going to go with the speech is 2 hours long or her intro was longer than my speech. Well, I want to keep it to a relatively small time frame because I think you guys really want to get into working with each other on things. So what I wanted to do is just first of all welcome you. The excitement, the number of people here in the room. This is awesome. I want to thank the school district and the folks from the university and from the Coker Chapel Hill group for helping put this together, and special appreciation to Janelle and Sarah, who from my office, that made this happen, and all I had to do was show up. An awesome job on their part. What I wanted to do was talk just a little bit about Chapel Hill's open data. If you haven't been to our open data site, there are several people here that can guide you to it. But on our open data site, the purpose of the site is to increase government transparency. It's pretty much that simple. We use an open data soft platform. We bought that about 3 years ago. It provides a good user interface for folks. It also allows you to download, and it has APIs so that you can build attachments to it into your applications and move forward with the data. We have several goals with it. We're trying to keep the data as up to date as possible. Sometimes that's fairly difficult. One of our difficulties, and we're working through, and Janelle and Sarah know this a lot because it's a difficult part of their responsibilities, is collecting all of the town information and getting it into the open data site is really tricky because a lot of systems were purchased by departments independently, and they have to kind of put all the pieces together. So it is a slower growth than what I think we originally hoped it would be, but we want to make sure that when we get information out there that it is valuable, there's good quality to it, and it is something that is sustainable over a period of time so that if people do start to use it for other purposes, that it will be, in fact, usable. We also are combining this with our records management. As a public entity, the town of Chapel Hill, like any other public entity, needs to keep their records, public records, make them accessible. So we're basically trying to look for a workflow from the time that somebody starts to interface with the system to provide a service to citizens all the way through to the public records that come out of that or need to be sustained for that, and make it a seamless workflow for people. So again, something that folks in my office do. The other thing I wanted to touch on was smart cities. Chapel Hill is one of AT&T's 7 spotlight cities. So we have basically been gifted equipment from AT&T and its business partners to do several things. One of the things that we've got going, unfortunately the data is only now being vetted, so we cannot get it to the open data site, is that we have a system with Hitachi to basically be able to look at 16 of the traffic cameras around the town, and it will count everything that goes through the intersections that those cover. And so we will be getting that data out there once we're sure that it's vetted and we have a fairly steady stream. So it is a pilot. It will be listed as a pilot. When we're done with it, we'll figure out which intersections we're going to do. If we're going to do more intersections and so on and so forth. So you'll hear more about that as that comes out. Other is parking space management. And so we're working with AT&T and a number of vendors, some of them local, a couple of startups even, on how they handle parking management and being able to reserve spaces, be able to connect to Waze to tell you where you're likely to be able to get an open parking space. So that is a project that is happening with that. We're also automating crosswalks. We've had a very interesting time working with Duke Energy, but have now got some success to be able to mount cameras on poles that are owned by Duke Energy. So we got commitment from them only last week. And so the people on our biped team and the police department have gone out and tried to figure out where would be the best place to put these 3 Hitachi cameras. And one of the things we want to do with it is connect it to the crosswalks that you see like on MLK, so that it knows when someone's in the crosswalk and when they're not, so that those lights are a little more timed a little better, so you're not sitting there waiting for nobody going across. And those people who forget to hit the button and step out into the street, the lights will actually that is another thing. We'll also then be able to count the number of people and vehicles and everything that go through that same intersection. So I think that pretty much covers the smart city portion of it. Anything to do with smart city is that you look at a bunch of assumptions and you want to test them, analyze the data, and figure out whether or not it is a product that we want to continue with. So we're doing this on a piloting basis, and the idea is that in the end it should be enhancing human decision making, or actually provide artificial intelligence to be able to manage the town a little better than it has been. So that was really quick, so I'll tell you a story. So as Janelle mentioned, I've been doing this for a few years. My degree is very old, older than probably more than half the people. And so I just wanted to make sure people knew that as you're going through your career, or you're going through your advancement in this that you're working on, everything is a stepping stone that builds one thing upon another. And so it is important. And so the story I'm going to tell you is that I used to work in the private sector, and this is where I really got interested in analytics. Worked in the private sector for a mid-size catalog company at the time, but now fairly online search. You may have heard of a company called LLV in Maine. And so they hired me, and my first task was, it was an interesting meeting, but my task was to stop them from sending orders to people who weren't going to pay. It sounds pretty simple, but a lot of times you just don't know. You don't know who's going to pay and who's not going to pay. The company was losing at least $1.5 million a year, and so they figured if they could recoup some of that, that would be great. So they hired me to do that, and so I said, okay, I think I can do it. I put together a really awesome team of programmers, and you sit down and you kind of design things, and you say, okay, how exactly am I going to do this? I mean, nobody tells you ahead of time I'm not going to pay. And so you get the easy things, like you get a list of stolen credit cards, you get a list of individuals who ripped the company off before, and so on. So you've got these easy data sets of things where you say, okay, I'm not going to ship to anybody who uses that credit card, or it's this person. But then we're sitting there saying, okay, that's not really going to save us a lot of money. So one of the key things I've learned in this, and I think this, all of you being here and talking to one another is important, is that collaboration, curiosity, and asking that question, who else cares? When you're sitting there and you've got a puzzle and you can't figure it out. So we were sitting there one day and I said, you know who else cares about this? The police care about this, because these people are committing fraud. It's mail fraud, it's credit card fraud, it's this or that. So who do we call? So we call the largest police office in Maine. They suggested that we call the ATF, the Treasury Department, and the FBI, and the U.S. Postal Service, because all of those people care. And it's, oh, this is great. So we get a large number of them in a room, and we start discussing what it is that they care about, and what information do they have that they are either willing to share, or if we shared with them, we could come up with a way of doing something. So, as I said, this is kind of my start in looking at analytics and looking at data sets and kind of thinking outside the box. So my goal in the first year was we were going to put it in on November 1st and have it stop as many orders through Christmas. The objective was to stop $200,000 worth of orders from going out the door. And so this system had the kind of the precursor to artificial intelligence to it, and a number of other things that go on for it. But we had these really good data sets and information sharing. And so by February 1st, we had stopped $500,000 worth of stuff going out the door. So they knew that we were onto something. And so Elohim then got to talk to other companies and says, who else cares? So if they're ripping us off, they're ripping off other people, other companies. So we actually got permission to work with other retail companies, shared our information, because again, you take somebody off the street, they're not doing that. So interesting things we learned from it as you're thinking about how data sets work and things you might not have thought were related. We caused it. We participated in the arrest of several people in New York who were using Elohim products to pay for drugs. We had a guy who was arrested because they couldn't get into his house or wherever, but he ordered a canoe. So they told us that this person was going to be ordered. So we had a kind of a list of people to be kind of a watchdog. And so apparently, individuals were able to dress up as FedEx guys and get this guy to come out and help unload the canoe, and they arrested him. So they saw the value in it as well. So the point of my story is that over that number of years of doing this, putting those pieces together, kind of thinking out of the box and who else cares, has kind of been the theme of my data analytics. And so I'm hoping that you, looking at data and your fellows, other folks here today, that you guys get that same excitement, you start making those connections, and you figure out how you can use the data. In particular, we're interested in how you might be able to use that to help the town of Chapel Hill and other communities use data to help provide better, higher quality services to our citizens. So there's my email.
Thank you, Scott. Excellent. So as we go on with our day, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Ian Henshaw, our Code for Cary. We wanted to definitely today to incorporate the Code for America. That is an effort across the U.S. and world, and that's a significant part of why we're here today. And Ian has represented from Code for Cary. As a technology evangelist internationally, nationally, and locally, Ian is deeply involved in the open economy, entrepreneurial development, and data management analysis. He has operated as a change agent and community builder with the focus on technology as a tool to solve problems using techniques referred alternately as data engineering, business intelligence, or data-driven decision-making. There's a tremendous amount of history speaking at the local, state, and national levels on entrepreneurship, smart cities, open data, hackathons, and civic engagement trends as applied to economic development. He is an organizer, mentor, and judge at hackathon competitions. However, Ian is most comfortable doing business over coffee and with a handshake. So, as we please welcome Ian Henshaw.
Thank you, Garrison. So I just want to point out, so Code for America, so we've also got Chris here, who's Code for Raleigh, and we've got Laura, thank you, Laura, Code for Durham, and John's here also from Code for Durham, and we've got Dane from Code for Durham, and Jim from Japan. So there's a bunch of people here that have some experience in this. So I want to do a quick presentation. So a couple of years ago, Chapel Hill launched their open data portal. So check, you've got that. So the question is, what comes next? So you might look for a project. So here's one. This is Boston, bike safety. They've got kind of a point map of stuff going on. And then this is a heat map. And this obviously is a law company, maybe not a civic reason, but they want to find clients. So looky here, you've got Cove Chapel Hill on their website. They've got a project, and the crash auto project. So maybe there's something already going on with this. So you've got your open data portal, and here's the URL for it. They've got a data set on bicycle crashes, and they've got a data set on pedestrians as well. With that, now on the portal, you can do some quick visualization. So I got a point map, and I've got a point map here of bicycle crashes, pedestrian crashes. So very quickly with that open data portal, you can get to what that Boston project looked like, right? So what comes next? So the open data gives us some basic information. We have a nice visualization. Visualization might point to some potential problem areas. But the question is, how do we make that into actionable issues? If it was that easy, then something would have been done about it, right? So the solution here is to add information and context. So that's how to move projects forward. So one of the things you could look at here is usage and number of crashes. So here you've got an individual bicyclist, maybe it's a very sparsely ridden road for bicyclists. And here you've got this in Portland. There's tons of people that bicycle there, right? So it may be that more bicyclists equals more crashes, or that single solitary bicyclists, drivers don't come across them very often, so maybe that has higher frequency. Again, I don't know, but there are things you can think about. Other things you can do, you can interview bicyclists and pedestrians, and it might look something like this. No, maybe it might look like this. So this, with a chart of the maps, you've got bicyclists here, you can talk about some issues and maybe get some feedback about what they think. You can look at maybe the type of intersection. So here I've gone on OpenStreetMap, which is an open source mapping project, kind of like Google Maps, but this is all open source. So we've got several different types of intersections. So maybe a type of intersection has a higher frequency of accident than others. You can do correlations with known activities. And I apologize, I've got a Wake County calendar here. I tried to find one in Chapel Hill or in Orange County or Durham, but they were all just listed numbers. I couldn't find it quickly. I was putting this together in about 20 minutes. So you can look at this. We've got a new school year, so new people showing up in an area. So maybe there's some correlation with that. Or you've got basketball schedules. There's a bunch of people coming to town that probably don't come here very often. So again, these may be some things. And when I talk about correlation doesn't mean causation. But a lot of times we have to use correlation because if you want to do a proper causation study, you'd say, well, this intersection might be good and this intersection might be bad, but you wouldn't specifically make one bad to prove that it causes crashes, because that would be totally untrue, right? So we have to do correlation much more often than causation. You can look at street lighting. So here we've got a well-lit intersection. Here there's some trees blocking lights, so that might be an indication of issues. But again, if you can correlate this with those nice initial charts we had or maps, then you might start getting something that's actionable. And then weather conditions obviously play a part of this. We've got heavy rain, we've got snow. You guys get a lot more snow here apparently than Cary. Some dividing line there. I don't know why you get more snow. But this is very common. This happens this time of year definitely. So, but this is more complicated. That time of day changes every day of the year. So you have to build some sort of model that would show like the sun angle versus time, and the time of the crashes, and then be able to see if there's some. So this is a lot more complicated, but you'd have to find like historical weather information. You have to like map the sun type thing. So these are all different ways you can do this. Not to say that the town and the county don't do this, but they only have limited resources. So they do a certain amount of stuff. Now there's several people here. There's hundreds and thousands of people in civic communities. And if we all start looking at these things, we can turn up things And then if we, instead of just the map, the town can make the map really quickly, right? The county can make the map really quickly. But if you look at that and say, well, we've looked at this with these things, and there seems to be a correlation with this, so this seems to be actionable. Well, that's something that the town and the county can actually do something about. They might not have had the time to come up with that, but your interest in your knowledge of pulling different data sets, you can actually do that, and then you make something actionable, it can happen, and then your project is actually being able to reduce this crashes and improve safety. So, thank you.
So thank you, Ian. That was great. One more time for Ian.
Yeah.
So now is the fun part of the day. We all come here to hack, okay? So we actually have a couple of projects that we have come to prepare to pitch to you. However, in order to hack, you need projects. So I'm sure some of you all came with your own projects. A little birdie told me that someone over here might have a great project to pitch. But when we're talking about project pitches, it's going to be 30 seconds or less. It's a high-level overview of what you want to accomplish. And you can really say, this is a concept that I'm really trying to formulate. Or if it's something that you started already, that's great. And if you've already identified specific needs, throw that in the project pitch. So we're encouraging everyone that has an idea, whether it's formulated or not, to come up here, take 30 seconds or less to pitch it. We will start with our prepared pitches. Our first pitch, it comes from the town of Chapel Hill, but we have a pitch from the North Carolina Datapalooza winner, as well as our Code for Chapel Hill co-captain, and one of our other, another town, another town employee in our connected communities. But Sarah, come on up and let's talk about quality of life dashboard.
I always know we're starting these things off, so I'm just going to jump in. I'm Sarah Hancock. I'm a business analyst with the town. I work very closely with Janelle and Scott, as well as our open data team. Shout out to the library. Just want to share that a quality of life dashboard is something that the town is really interested in. Durham has something like this, and they co-opted it from Mecklenburg County, and they created a very, very cool dashboard that tells us how people are feeling in their towns and what kind of data points can actually tell us what is their quality of life. A lot of the code to create this type of dashboard is already up on GitHub, and we have a great expert for GitHub back there, Luke. Hey! So he is prepared and ready to help us dig through that and see if we can't create something similar. We have lots of census data and we're rich in analytics sitting on our open data portal ready to go. So we're hoping that maybe somebody would be interested in looking at some of these quality of life data points, using the census data and creating us a great dashboard, or start a great dashboard for the town of Chapel Hill. And that's my pitch.
All right.
Someone made me a slide. Hey everyone, my name is Megan Peters. I'm also with the Town and Community Connections Coordinator. So what that means is I'm working to engage you all, people who live, work, play, pray in Chapel Hill, to be engaged in town processes, programs, etc. It's a relatively new division, and as such we're looking to develop a baseline to kind of test our assumptions of seeing who's engaged in the community, how they're engaged in the community. And so what I'm here today looking for help with is kind of starting figuring out how to develop a tool. We have data from a biannual Chapel Hill community survey looking at how people are engaged. Develop a tool to first give us insight, and then also to help us test those assumptions that we have as far as seeing if maybe the middle class white people are more involved and stuff like that. And as a bonus is we're looking to hopefully be able to use this in the future with different surveys as well, so creating a tool that's flexible for us.
feel ready to talk about this project. Be flexible here.
Yeah, that's not the project I'm talking about, but my pitch in one sentence is to try and create a crash model for the town of Chapel Hill, and this is inspired from a project that was done in Boston. Theirs is a lot bigger and better than ours right now, but I think we have, with all the dodgy cameras coming in and all of the resources in the open data portal, I think we can accomplish something similar and potentially better than what they've done. But the three main components that they've identified, and I think this is a good place for us to start, is to first identify the most dangerous areas in Chapel Hill, the most dangerous intersections, roads, segments, whatever. And then the next step after that would be to figure out what about those intersections makes them dangerous. What is it about? What are some similar things in each of those locations? And then the last thing is to, and this is super important, is to make sure that once we extract some meaningful information out of this analysis and present it to decision makers and they propose some sort of intervention, we want to be able to make sure that the intervention is actually having an impact. So part of this project is also going to be thinking about a systematic way to do like intervention impact analysis. So I think lots of exciting stuff. Yeah, talk to me after if you guys want to do this.
Okay. And this is another project that is part of Code for Chapel Hill that we have been working on, trying to get a pretty clear sense of who is actually using the facilities. So they've looked at the parks, only looking at the parks with established spaces like Hargraves, and then being able to find a way to track usage. So that's the summary for that. That's an ongoing project that's part of Code for Chapel Hill. So if you're interested in this, that you can be participating in it today, but also use it through Code for Chapel Hill. Is this where we're at?
So I'm Lila Alderman, and my project is NC ClearPath. As Janelle mentioned, we won the Datapalooza this past fall with the NC OpenPass competition. And basically our mission is to provide safe and accessible trip planning for people with limited mobility on pedestrian ways where things like Google Maps don't currently serve their interests. And the great thing about this project is that you don't need to know anything about coding or anything about mapping to participate. Part of the hackathon this afternoon is going through and teaching you how to do all this stuff. If on the other side of things you really like React and Django and Rails, I need help on that too.
Go for it.
Hey everybody, I'm a community member of the public. I'm Charlie, and I have to leave, so I'm not even going to be able to see this through. But I have two ideas that come from people I know that I won't take credit for. One has to do actually with the parks idea, and that is from a teenager who says that he doesn't think that there's enough public spaces for teenagers, and by extrapolation others, to get together in public, within walking distance. And so the question would be, can we map density of young people or people in general, and are they within walking distance of a place with benches, a little public, a little open space, shelter for rain, perhaps, just a roof, I think the phrase might be pocket park, or just a mini something, or even just along some expanded part of a sidewalk where people could get together within walking distance. So we have great established things, but are there also parts of town that aren't within walking distance of these, but might like facilities like that? So the second idea comes from another friend who works with people who have financial need, and feels that the information for finding rental units for poor families with children is not easy to find. And especially for folks who are have difficulty getting information, they're very busy, even for caseworkers, social workers, and others who are working with them, could there be some way of gathering information of what's available, subsidized housing, the rent levels, the size of the units, and so on, that would make it easier for folks to get access to that information. Those are my two things. Sorry if it took more than 30 seconds.
No. Good job.
Hello, I'm Jim McManus, and I'm with Code for Durham. I've been working on a project for affordable housing in Durham, and also more recently a project that's looking at flood data from Hurricane Florence in Cumberland County and comparing it to partial data. And today I'd like to look at the Python spatial analysis library, find ways in which we can use that library to analyze the data we've been working on.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dane, volunteer for Code for Durham. I was just talking to my friend Scott over there that I work with at Analyst. And I've been thinking about, I've always wanted to pair data sort of exploration with games. And so I've been looking and curiously researching games out there that already have level editors, and I'm thinking about creating games for kids that sort of give them information about their city. So I think the metaphor that I've most that I've thought about the best so far is like I'm hoping to find a level editor for Frogger, and I can map accidents and traffic flow for different intersections in the cities. And I don't know, I'm interested in exploring that idea, and I'm looking for data sets and games. So if you're interested in that idea, come and see me.
Hello, my name is Sydney Runkle. I'm a 10th grader at Chapel Hill High and a member of the coding club there. I am also an avid road cyclist with my dad, and I would like to analyze bike traffic data at intersections all over Chapel Hill. And with this data, I'd like to determine the best places to install bike detectors, basically, just like car sensors that you would have at intersections. But unfortunately, right now, those car sensors are it's very unlikely that they actually sense bikers, so bikers are left either waiting for cars to trip the light for them, or if it's like really early in the morning, just having to run the red light because you're never going to get a car. So I think if we analyze the best spots to install these sensors, you know, a much happier population. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Are there any more public participants?
Hi, I'm Laura with Code for Durham. I'm also on the Code for America National Advisory Council.
All right.
And I also work with the city of Durham. The Durham County recently contacted me. They received a grant to expand summer meals. So meals that are available for kids during the summer when school's not there, and school's out, so they still have access to food. And they're trying to figure out where to do that. And so I shared some of that information with Garrison, and I know that he mapped some of that. But I think there's another layer of identifying probably areas in Durham we know have low income or other proxies for that, and trying to figure out kind of a gap analysis of what we know where we already have summer meal sites, then identifying the communities in need so that so Durham County can kind of make a more data-driven decision on where they should expand summer meals. So if you're interested in any of that and trying to map that project, that would be really cool, because understanding we know where they are, knowing where there might be need, and then the next part for me as a community engagement coordinator is identifying like churches or other faith communities or other spaces that might be willing to host summer meals. Thanks.
All right. All right. Anyone else? All right. And this is kind of how I would view where we are. Participants will share pitches and using with data sets. You, as the person, will choose where you would like to work, what things you think are, maybe we have specific technologies that people have said that they might want to incorporate, or just the topics are more engaging to you. You'll find your group. We will do some work. again, hoping to find common goals. And we're going to do a share out at 3 o'clock. In between now, if you look at your program, there will be lunch, so keep that in mind. And then thinking about where do we go with it. Like not just, it's not going to end today. Most things won't end today, but then how do we get to do these projects that could then, either through working more with the town, or working with Code for America in Durham, or Code for America in Chapel Hill, or in any of our locations, where do you do to help take these projects forever? Okay. Yeah, we'll talk real quick about this. So again, it's not going to be, if we're thinking about here, working some today, it's not going to wrap up today, so we want to see something that is at least a starting point. This might be, can be in a lot of different formats. This is the minimum viable product, MVP, a well thought out concept. It's not a complete product. We're not expecting to finish it for today. It can be a minimum feature set, conceptual slide presentation. Some people will be doing something like that today. Just a project overview or plan. You wanted to have something that you could represent, like infographic or graphical representation, or anything else. So that's kind of the plan. I think that if people who pitched are kind of already on their own tables. So I think like